Welcome to the Cubbie Corner here on SouthBendCubs.com. I'm South Bend Cubs broadcaster Brendan King, joined alongside a very special guest, owner and chairman of the South Bend Cubs, Andrew Berlin. Andrew, it's great to have you back in South Bend.
Yeah, thank you.
How's the offseason been for you? I know you've been doing a lot of traveling, and you've been around the globe, haven't you?
I've been doing work for the packaging company, but most recently doing a lot of work with the Cubs. I was out in spring training last week. Had our partner meetings out there and had a nice presentation from Theo and Jed. I feel very confident about and optimistic about this team this year. It's been fantastic.
How ready are you for baseball to come back? It's been a long period of time since we've had baseball here in South Bend and Chicago. Do you have the fever?
Oh, absolutely. Anybody who lives in the Chicago area has got the fever for warmer weather. Yeah, but baseball, it's fantastic. Now, we're in the midst of the Sweet 16 right now, so by the time this airs, it may be afterwards, but I have to give a shout-out to my alum. I'm a Syracuse alum, so
yeah, well,
shout-out to the Orange.
They have been tremendous. I mean, it seems like Boeheim always gets them ready to play in March. It's just they are always ready to play come tournament.
He's a great coach. He's a great coach, no question about it. But, yeah, baseball, my first love. The Chicago Cubs, I'll be at opening day. Of course, our opening day is April 7th, but it's – my goodness, it is so. I'm so ready for baseball.
Now, Andrew, let me take you back to 2011. That's when you bought the South Bend Cubs. Now in your 7th year of ownership, you come into South Bend here. Before that, you invested in other baseball teams. What made you want to come to South Bend? Where did it spark in your idea to come here and to invest your time and money here?
Well, I was at one time in my past an investor in the White Sox, and no longer. But I really had the itch to buy a major league team. But I wanted to stay in the Central Division. There was no team, however, for sale. And you can't buy something that's not for sale. And so my attention went from Major League to minor league. And thankfully, the South Bend Silverhawks at the time, which was a Diamondbacks affiliate, was for sale. So I came down here to South Bend to look into the situation. Found, of course, South Bend is a wonderful community nestled right here in Michiana, just 35 minutes from Lake Michigan, an hour and a half from downtown Chicago. And the team was ready. And the owner at that time, the former governor of Indiana, Joe Kernan, was selling the team. So we were able to work something out. And I bought the team on November 11th, 2011. So it was 11/11/11 on the calendar, and then we signed the contract at 11:11 a.m.
Little baseball kind of thinking behind that. A lot of guys like to do specific things before games. Does that have something to do with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I read in the Wall Street Journal a long time ago that of baseball fans, 75% of baseball fans feel that there's something they can do or not do that will affect the outcome of the game. So I figured for good luck, we'd do it all with 11s, and it's Armistice Day, and of course Apollo 11 landed on the moon, was the first to land on the moon, so I figured 11s would be good for baseball.
Now, just a short time after you bought the club, you bring in Joe Hart, a guy that was in Port Charlotte, Florida at the time, great baseball mind. You come in here at Four Winds Field here in South Bend. On your mind, Joe and you, what did you plan right away? What are some of the things you saw right off the bat that you thought, that's something I can improve?
Yeah, it was, unfortunately, it was everything we could improve. It was everything from the cleanliness to the safety to the physical plant to the customer journey and experience, the food, the merchandise, the sponsorship, the advertising, really everything. But, you start with your comment and question about Joe. That really that's where it starts. Because, listen, anyone who runs a company knows that good ideas are a dime a dozen. Anyone who's ever taken a shower has had a good idea. And we've had plenty of good ideas on how to fix the situation here, but we really need to hire the right people to lift those ideas off the paper into action. And I met Joe at the winter meetings in December of 2011. And after a 4 or 5 hour interview, I knew we had a guy that was really cut from the same fabric, believed what I believed, and had a very similar culture. But even more importantly, Joe had the chops. He knew how to recruit people who felt the same way. And I think we have a team of people in South Bend, that the front office, and who run the stadium and run the experience for the fans. To the man, to the woman, everyone in this stadium believes what we believe, and that is delivering an amazing experience for the fans and the players. And as a consequence, this organization has grown. We've quintupled attendance, and the financial structure now is strong and secure.
Well, we'll get to the attendance a little bit later, but right now you're looking at 7 years later. There's a lot of construction going on here at Four Winds Field. The Ivey at Berlin Place. What were you thinking behind that? When did it first spark in your idea to do something like that and emulate Wrigley Field and bring that here to South Bend?
Yeah, so we're building the 4 apartment buildings, bringing the stadium from left field to center field. Those 4 apartment buildings was an idea and a brainchild we had years ago, but we could only execute it if we could improve and increase the density of population around the ballpark on game days and non-game days. And once we were able to improve attendance so dramatically here, we knew that if folks were coming to the ballpark, eating at new restaurants that were opening in downtown South Bend, engaging a lot of the activities in downtown South Bend, in addition to the game, we should probably give them a great place to live as well. And so the idea of building premium apartments with a fit and finish and fixtures that were really first class but at an affordable price, kind of like the way we do it here at the stadium, that same value proposition would carry over to a successful development. And so that's why we broke ground in apartment buildings and the rooftop amenities and the rooftop entertainment complexes that we built on top of the apartment buildings will be ready by July.
Do you think that's going to continue to act as almost a domino effect for South Bend, Indiana, bringing the city back and bringing more activity back to this part of the city?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I think having a baseball team is not just about the wins and losses. It's not just about the players, although that is the focus. Really, being in the baseball business is about attracting people, creating memories, helping the big team in Chicago get the best players. But you also, the city around this ballpark has to experience some of the benefits as well. And I think we've attracted a lot of developers, a lot of restaurants and bars and activities. And of course, with the University of Notre Dame and downtown South Bend as well, it's been a tremendous catalyst for growth. And that's something we're really proud of too.
You talked about the attendance a little bit earlier. 350,000 people last year came to Four Winds Field.
Yeah.
I talked with Joe Hart a couple days ago. He wants 400,000 this year.
Yeah.
How pleased have you been with just the constant improvement in terms of attendance and just the ballpark itself?
Well, I'm often pleased but never satisfied. Yeah. That's a mantra around here. But yes, I'm very pleased. And, listen, some seasons are very much weather dependent. Yeah. If you have a decent April with some decent weather and May's okay, then your attendance is going to pop for the rest of the season. You're going to hit your numbers. But we're not just weather dependent here anymore also. We added a lot of seating in left field, and we also, with the apartment complexes and the entertainment centers, we're adding a lot of entertainment options for groups to come here as well. So I think we're absolutely going to beat the attendance record this year. And frankly, the people of South Bend and of this entire region take a lot of pride in breaking those records.
Yeah.
And they show up in droves, even at the end of the season after school starts, and they want to break the record too. And I think that's the team culture we have with this community.
I think it's always healthy to take a step back and really think about what you've been able to do. What have you been most proud of here with the South Bend Cubs that you've been able to do so far?
Well, I think it starts with the Cubs. I have to tell you, we enjoyed working with the Diamondbacks, and they were a fine organization, but it was always the dream to have the Cubs come to South Bend. And I think being able to attract the Cubs to our stadium, to this community, is such a vote of confidence for Michiana and South Bend. It's such a vote of confidence for us because the Cubs are a premier organization, iconic brand, such a strong, powerful organization. Make no mistake about it. When they join South Bend, they win the wild card and get to the playoffs. They win the World Series. They win the division again the third year. I mean, I don't know if it's a coincidence all this great performance of being in South Bend, but I joke with Theo and others at the Cubs that the road to the World Series starts in South Bend. And I have to say, our greatest achievement, I think, was it was turning the team around and building an amazing group of people here, yes. Getting the Cubs to come here unquestionably had a catalyst effect for the entire community. And that's what's so wonderful about baseball and wonderful about sports. When done right, it has a wonderful economic and positive economic impact on a community. And we've seen that in spades here in South Bend.
You mentioned you were just at spring training down in Mesa, Arizona.
Yeah.
You've had a first look at the Chicago Cubs of 2018. What are you thinking for what's going to happen here this season?
Man, you got to love this rotation. I think Chatwood is looking fantastic. Schwarber obviously physically looks fantastic, but I think he's hitting in about 378. I saw this morning. There is a optimism. There is a focus in this team that we didn't necessarily see last year. I mean, we came off the World Series last spring training, and everyone was pretty giddy about that. And you had the ring ceremonies and the media, the attention that they got. But this year, we know that we have a core team that's together beyond just the rotation, in the infield and the outfield. We have amazing young athletes, the core of our team that have World Series experience. To take advantage of that while that core team is together, that means we win now. And so we have great optimism we're going to make it to the last out of the entire season, and that's the last out of the World Series, not just this year, but the year after, the year after, and the year after.
Well, additionally, the South Bend Cubs are putting their own footprint on the big club up in Chicago.
Yes.
Former South Bend Cub Ian Happ finished top 10 in
Sure.
Rookie of the Year voting last year.
Yeah.
It's just so cool to be able to have a guy come up from South Bend and already doing so well with the big club.
Yeah, we taught Ian Happ how to smile. It's he's working on it still, but he's an amazing athlete. He's an amazing guy. It's to know the family he came from and his dedication to the people he loves, to his craft, to the game. You see why he's successful. There's no accident with his success. He has earned it, and he works hard for it. We saw that in South Bend. Of course, I've seen it through the farm system, and of course, you see it in the big leagues now too. I ran into Jason Hayward very briefly. We thanked him for doing his rehab assignment here. I told him, we hope we don't see you again, but if we do, we'll make your stay very comfortable. But yeah, we love it when the Cubs send their players here because we have a great reputation. I mean, the entire farm system of the Chicago Cubs, we feel that we can really hold our own, and we have some really great facilities here to help our players and the big league players get better fast.
Well, Andrew, we can't wait for the 2018 campaign here at Four Winds Field. Really appreciate you joining the Cubbie Corner this week. Been a lot of fun.
You're doing a great job.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. So long, everybody.
Bye-bye.